Hey, sewing friends. This week in the sewing room, it was a really nice surprise. And I also flirted with an old bad habit. Welcome to my channel. I'm Janine. This is Janine Sews. I talk about sewing for the woman who's over 50, 60, whatever age. This is a Friday sew, so I'm going to be talking about what I've been working on in the sewing room and a little bit about life in general. Today I'm wearing Kwik Sew 3658. If you watched last week's video, I was also wearing Kwik Sew 3658 because this is really a favorite pattern of mine. This fabric is double brush poly, and I made this top, I think in 2019. And I was very pleased with how I matched the stripes on the front. This pattern and this fabric together are great for these cooler days. It's a little bit cozy, but it's not too hot. We have a holiday party tomorrow night, and I just sort of remembered this last Friday, and I didn't have anything to wear. My goal was to make something that I could wear to the party or anytime when I'm going out in cooler weather, especially. Not to make something in red and green or something overly sparkly, just something that would be nice for a dinner out. Not casual, not overly dressy. I had made this outfit for Calvary Frock Tales in the fall, and I love the shape of the skirt, and I love the shape of the top. The sleeveless top with the peplum, and then the skirt that's super drapey. I felt really good and comfortable wearing this. So I really wanted to make something that was like this outfit. Of course, I had nothing that would work in my stash because I don't have a huge stash. The one thing I knew I wanted to do was make something that, as I said, was not holiday colors, something in my colors. And I have these new shoes that I want to wear. I got these in the summer, so I wanted to be able to wear these. And these are deep blue, kind of look like boucle, don't they? And then there's a little bit of sparkle to them. So I think you can see that. So I thought they'd be really nice for, going out in the evening. I did get these shoes from Cozy Island. This is not a sponsored video or anything. I just got these shoes from Cozy Island. If you're interested, there's a link down below. Anyway, not a sponsored video. So that was what I had in mind. So something that worked with blue. When I went to my sewing meetup last Saturday, I was telling my friend Daphne about what I needed to sew, and I had to go out and find some fabric. And I said, I don't have a lot of time. And she said, why don't you just wear the winter white skirt that you made for Frog Tales? You can wear that with a new top. Winter white and navy would be really pretty together. So I tucked that away in the back of my mind, and I went fabric shopping. I went to Marshall's here in Calgary. And I looked around, and I couldn't find anything for the skirt. So I just decided I'm not going to sew a skirt. I'll wear that winter white skirt, and I'll make myself a new top. I knew I didn't have a top that would work. I bought this fabric for the top. This is poly satin. This midnight blue. Isn't this gorgeous? So I bought this to make the peplum top and came home Saturday. Just thought, okay, I'll start working on this tomorrow. I needed to clean up my sewing room. I'll tell you a little bit about that later in the video. So on Sunday, I did a little tidying, and I use project boxes. When I'm feeling organized, I use project boxes where I put everything all together in a box with pattern, notions, fabric. Once I cut everything out, it can all go in there. I'm digging around, and there's a project box back there. Oh, what's that? Pull it out. Oh, it's a peplum top half made. It's blue, shiny fabric. When did I start this? It's something from early last summer that I started on. I pulled it out. I looked and I thought, what have I done? The bodice was pretty much together. Everything was all cut out. The bodice was together and the peplum was basted on. So I thought, I'm just going to try it on. I don't remember what I had done with it. And I put it on and it was too small. That's why it was sitting there. So I thought, can I do anything with this? I had traced off the pattern and I had done a pivot and slide on the pattern to make it bigger. I traced an 18, done a pivot and slide. Well, clearly I hadn't done it right. When I compared the traced pieces to the pattern tissue, I don't know what I'd done. But I had cut the peplums the right size. Makes no sense. I pulled out the leftover fabric, the remnants, and there was just enough to cut on a new bodice and back, the front and back of the bodice. So I thought, what the heck? I'm just going to try this. Otherwise, this was wasted. It doesn't make any difference. It'll be a great way to just do a toile for my nice navy satin. Managed to cut out the fabric, had to move things around a little bit. And because I am trying to continuously improve with every project, I pulled out my sewing books and I said, what kind of needle do I need? What kind of thread do I need? Is there anything special I need to do working with this shiny fabric? It's poly. So, it's not like I needed silk thread or something. So I put in Microtech needle and poly thread, and I started working on this pattern. Now that pattern that I had cut out is New Look 6656. And it was this one here that I had cut out. Peplum top, sleeveless. Not exactly like the other one. I bought them both at the same time. I don't know why. But this would work. So I worked on the top. And I made a couple of small adjustments to it. When I cut it out, I noticed that the neck is super high. Like, it's super high. So I scooped that down 3 inches. And did I change anything else? Oh, I also, when I tried it on, the other one on, I noticed that the bottom of the arm side was too high. Oh, here's the fabric. Here's the top. I noticed that the bottom of the arm side was too high. So I was getting some fabric bulging here. So I just scooped that out a little bit. And I sewed the top. Here it is. Nice pretty fabric. Shiny. Suitable to be worn in the evening, right? Don't you think? Not holiday-ish, but just a pretty elevated top. You use self-binding. It's not bias, self-binding for the arm side. And you're supposed to for the neck as well. But I used narrow bias tape instead, trying to keep it flat against my chest. Sewed this all up as part of my continuous skill improvement. For this, I decided to learn to do a hand-rolled hem. Could have run it through the machine. I have the foot, but I figured that the fabric would kind of like lettuce leaf around the edge and stick up, and I didn't want that. So I thought, let's just take this time. This was a gift, finding this half-finished project. Let's take the time and do a hand-rolled hem. So that's what I did. I pulled out my books. Fortunately, I've got a lot of sewing books, and I learned to sew a hand-rolled hem. It is not perfect, but it is certainly better than a machine-stitched hem would have been. Now, this is where I started learning. I got to fix that tonight. Then when I finished, it was pretty good. It took me an entire hockey game to hem this. So that's like 3 years. But it was worth the time. this was this was just such a happy thing, such a wonderful surprise to find this top half made, ready to go. The fact that I had enough fabric left over to cut a new front and back bodice, that was something in itself. Oh, and I have to point this out. My invisible zipper went in beautifully. My one tip on the invisible zipper is I used woven fusible stay tape on it. And this particular stay tape is COSY brand, which you can get in Canada and the US. I don't think you can get it overseas, but it just really makes an invisible zipper go in so much better. Here's my top. And the top goes really nicely with the skirt, with the cream colored skirt, the winter white skirt. And I actually have a topper that goes nicely. It's not a dressy evening topper. It's just something that'll keep me warm if I find that the room's a little bit chilly. Wonderful, wonderful surprise that turned out so well. And now I have that nice piece of satin to use for something else. So all's well that ends well, right? Yesterday, Friday. Today's Friday. Yesterday was Thursday. I was out running around and I had some time open. And I happened to be about 3 blocks from a Fabricland. Fabricland is the big national chain here in Canada. And they're having their Black Friday sale, which is a very good sale, I may add. And I thought, I've got time. I'm just going to wander in and see what they've got. So I walked through and I thought, I wonder if they have any suiting, because I still would really like to make that skirt. Walked back and looked at the suiting, and they had exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted. And it was 60% off. So I picked up the bolt and I walked around with it. Looked at a bunch of other fabric. Maybe I bought some other fabric. But I bought the suiting. I got home about 8:30 last night. And I brought it in. And at about 9:15, I said to my husband, I'm going to sew that skirt. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm going to sew that skirt. So here's the flirtation with the bad habit. When I was in my 20s and 30s and I was single, I would walk past fabric stores going to or from work, or I'd go to the fabric store on my lunch break. Because, of course, this was in the days when there were fabric stores and department stores like the Bay and Eaton's here in Canada. And more times than I can count, I would go home after work, and maybe at about 7 p.m., I'd decide I was going to sew something for the next day. And I would cut, sew, and finish something before I went to bed that night. Nothing was well made. Nothing lasted through more than 2 visits to the apartment laundry room. And when I started adding up what I was spending on fabric, and I was not buying cheap fabric, I'd buy things like organza and silk. It was such a waste. Things looked terrible, and I was wasting not just my time, but money on this crap. And I just said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to take my time. I'm never going to give myself less than about 3 days if I have to sew anything. So I was thinking of this when I decided to sew the skirt, but I thought, what the heck? We have to be a little bit reckless when we're old. And we who sew are just so reckless, aren't we? Sewing a skirt really fast. So, cut out the skirt last night. This is the pattern I used. New Look 6668. Same skirt that I used for the off-white one. Let me say, if you have to sew a skirt quickly, this is a good pattern to use because it's so simple. Front and back, and then it's got a yoke, an elasticated waist, and a faced hem. So you don't have to hand stitch the hem, which in itself saves a bunch of time. There are no pockets, there's no waistband, there's no interfacing. The elastic waist, you don't have to worry as much about fitting. So I worked on it last night for about an hour, and then this morning for, I don't know, 2.5 hours, and I've got my skirt. This fabric is, it's going to be hard to see because it's dark. It's polyester suiting. It's got a little stretch to it, which means that when I sewed it, I used my walking foot, because sewing across the yoke and across the faced hem would be easy to get some bubbles without it. I sewed most of it on the serger. It's a very fast make. Had no problems with it. I didn't do any continuous improvement on this skirt. I just sewed the skirt. But now I feel like I have the outfit that I really wanted for tomorrow night. I'm not going to make a habit of the fast sewing thing. If I want fast fashion, I can just go buy it, but I don't really want fast fashion. This turned out well, and I'm looking forward to wearing it tomorrow night. When I was at Fabricland, I also bought another piece of fabric. This. Ugh. This is called cashmere, Kashmir, jacketing. And it is thick. It feels soft like fleece, but it's got no stretch. Well, a lot of fleece doesn't have any stretch. And it's not spongy like fleece. I bought 3 meters of this, and with the Black Friday sale price, it cost me $32 for 3 meters of this, and it's 150 wide, 60 inches wide. This will be a jacket, like a car coat kind of jacket, something that isn't lined, that I can throw on if I'm going out from my car to a garage, from my car to a restaurant. Not going to be super warm to be worn when it's actually cold outside, but when you just need something to kind of keep you warm and you're only going to be outside for a few minutes, then this is going to be just right. I have in mind, might not be able to find a pattern for this. Susie Wright, who I follow, has been posting coats and jackets like this with the built-in scarf. That's kind of what I'm thinking, if I can find it. If I can't find something, a pattern in the next 3 or 4 weeks, then I'm just going to find something else. This was the other piece of fabric that I bought, and I just love it. Loved the color. I really debated buying a pink. There was a really soft pink, but I thought that this was better with my skin tone. The pink kind of washed me out. As much as I love pink and I would love to be bathed in pink, I think this was better for my coloring and for the dead of winter when it's dark. It's nice and bright, and it's a happy color. So that's the other thing I bought. The suiting that I used for the skirt, I bought 3.2 meters of that, and I paid $40 Black Friday prices. That's not bad. So what else has been going on? Well, as I said, I cleaned up my sewing room, and I try to be very organized. I'm a put things away kind of person. I know all of you face the exact same struggle. You spend a bunch of time getting things organized, and then you work on a project, and you just don't have time to put things away. So every couple or 3 or 6 months, you have to go in and tear everything apart and put it all back together. We all do the same thing, don't we? It's very difficult to stop after every project and say, this thread goes here, this thread goes there. Well, the fun thing is that I always find things that I've forgotten about, like the top, every time I do a tidy up. I found something else in the back of the closet that I had forgotten about that I will be sewing soon. It's this. This is velour. Good old velour. I don't know what they call it now. I call it velour. And this, I think, is destined to be a Pattern Emporium. What's it called? Sweet Cheeks. I think this would be nice with the deep V. I love this color. So, nice surprise when I was cleaning up my closet. Surprise too. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, so I found that when I was cleaning up my closet. And I'm going to try to do a better job of putting things away. I'll probably be saying that again on New Year's Day as another resolution. Otherwise, there hasn't been a lot going on in my life. It's kind of quiet now. We had our first skip of snow, which means I don't have to go out and do any work in the yard. I have an amaryllis. I've got another one as well. Watching this to see how well it's going to grow. Yeah, just kind of, I work on a volunteer committee, so I've been spending a lot of time on the computer this week. That's about it. Nothing else exciting. Starting to think about the holidays. Not really thinking much about the holidays, though. Got my outfit. We don't buy a lot of gifts for each other. We'll see how much I do. I'll probably change my mind next week and have a whole big list of things I want to sew for people. I have been cooking. I'm not much of a cook. My husband's a good cook. I am not. I have been cooking. And if you're like me and you're not much of a cook, I found a website that has some really good recipes for Instant Pot and pressure cookers. It's Amy and Jacky. I'm going to put a link down below. This is just a website I found. And this week I made 2 different recipes from their website, and they were both so good. One was lemon chicken, and you use chicken thighs for that. And the other one was Salisbury steak. I think I've only ever had Salisbury steak at really bad buffets or from Swanson frozen meals. Never made it before. They were really good. And ground beef, so not expensive to make these days. Anyway, been having fun doing that. So that's it. That's it. That's all that's going on in my not so exciting life. Americans, I know that you have Thanksgiving next week. And I imagine that there are a lot of you who are very busy cooking, shopping, decorating the house. So I hope that you have a wonderful weekend and a fabulous Thanksgiving next week, even if you're just staying home and sewing with yourself. A lot of people get a day off, not everybody. That's Friday Sews for today. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble. If you're not a subscriber, I would love it if you would subscribe. If you hit the like button, both of those things really help with the YouTube algorithm, which is something that is a challenge for all of us. Thank you so much for watching today. I truly appreciate you spending some time with me whenever you have a moment. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you again next Friday. Take care.